Welcome back to Adventure and Repeats. Glad to see you here. So today we're putting a new impeller kit on our OMC Cobra. So it's a quick and easy job. Should be done every couple of years just because these do go bad. This one hasn't been done in a few years, so we're going to take care of it right now. Simple. First thing to do is we got to get this cover off. 3/8 bolts, all three. We're going to take that cover off so we can get to the inner housing and start doing the impeller swap. So all the part links are going to be in the description, so stick around. Right here. Loose, here, loose, here, loose. We're going to take all three off, get this cover off. Now that we have the cover off, next thing we need to do is get this inner housing off that has the impeller in it. So 3 bolts right here, same 3/8 size as well. You can take this off as one assembly and keep this lower hose attached, or you can just simply disconnect it, either pull this poppet out of there or pull the hose off the bottom. This hose goes down into the lower unit to help cool down everything internally as it's running down the water. So that's what we're going to do next and get that off. We're going to disconnect ours right here. It just makes it easier for the long run. This cover right here bolts off, simply just peels right out. So she is definitely looking wore on there, but nothing's broke off on it, so that's always nice to see. But she's definitely been wore out and she is due. Wear plates, oh, definitely got some grooves on there. So it's a good thing with our kit, it comes with a new plate, but that has definitely got some wear. Has not been changed in a while. So that's what it looks like, and that's what the impeller looks like. This is the repair kit we are using. I bought the full entire kit just in case we need things, just like the wear plate, because that one is actually wore out, so we need to take care of that. So it has everything else. This cup we may not have to replace because it's still in good condition. It's not wore out and broke out on the sides, but we're gonna have to check the back side to see if it's wore out inside the cup itself. So that is the natural shape of it. Where that has O-rings and gaskets. The gasket is for the wear plate itself, and the O-ring is for the housing. The impeller right here, you can see how the arms stick out nice and straight, and they're rubbery and flexible. These ones are holding their shape even though they're not touching anything, so that's actually bad. And you can see on here you have nice rounded edges, kind of like a round lobe. Over here it's flat on that side, so that shows that's also half wore out. With these impellers, they are keyed, so you can see right here there's a flat, there's actually an arrow right there that shows where the triangle key is on the inside of this, so you can only put it on one way, and that key is what helps drive it. So just something to note. This obviously has some junk caught up in there, so we're going to clean it all out and get everything cleaned up. That's what I was referring to. This thing is basically just falling out of here, not holding much into it. You can see that is super, super bad. So this boat is fairly new to us. I knew the previous owner liked to start it dry. That is what happens when it starts dry. That is very, 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 very bad, and will cause overheating issues in the boat. So it's actually amazing that it survived this many years without any problems. But down in the throat of them, it's got a little dry cracking, but nothing too terrible. But that is bad. And our cup has a little bit of wear, but nothing too terribly bad. These are glued into place, so if we have to take that out, we have to unglue it and see it and pull it out, and it's actually glued into place, so it can be kind of a pain. But that doesn't look too terribly bad because these are rubber. But I may have just end up replacing anyways because that is bad. So yeah, there's the difference. Should look like that, not like that. So made the decision, we're going to actually replace the cup too, because now is the time to do it, because I've got time, so there should be no excuse why I shouldn't do it. Then I know everything is nice and new and taken care of because the previous owner did not do a good job. So we're going to pre-stage this impeller in the cup and make sure it's timed right to make it easier to put back together when we put it on the outdrive. So you're going to want to lubricate this a little bit to make it go in this cup a little easier, and just for first startup, because you do need water to make sure this doesn't get wore out or burnt up like this one. So a little bit of dish soap in the cup. We're going to spread it all over the blades too, all over on that, so it makes it easier and lubricated. So when we put it in there and start indexing it, it finds its home. So as you can see, it's in there, and that's what it's supposed to look like with straight legs versus everything being curved. So don't tell my wife I borrowed a dish soap, and we'll get this pre-staged. What we're going to do to pre-stage it is, because this cup only goes in one way, we're going to actually pre-stage it on here. So we're just going to set it in the drive till we find the key, and then rotate it till it comes out with the flatter side towards the bottom. So when we put the housing back on, it just pops right on that key. We don't have to fight with it and try to turn it around until we get the key to seat. So this will make our life easier in the long run, just making sure it's keyed on that. We put it all back together, because you don't want to turn this backwards, because now that you got everything in there, it only kind of goes one way super easy. So that's what we got, nice and seated in there. A little dish soap came out, but that's okay. We'll make some bubbles later. So this cup is either glued in or still has like the factory adhesive, whatever it is, holding it in place. But take a screwdriver in there and just kind of peel it in. That allows this to peel off the edges. We can kind of work our way around it, because this is plastic, so we got to be careful with it. But between that and pliers, we'll get it out. And it's coming out little by little. We'll get there. There, that's all there is to it. She got some junk in there. Definitely gonna get that cleaned up, but get her up and ready to go. After a little bit of elbow grease, we got this thing cleaned up. Some of the key things to look for is make sure there's no cracks or dents or broken pieces all the way around the outside, because this is plastic. You want to make sure it's sealed up well, so if there's a crack, it can leak water. This hose right here, make sure that's clear and goes all the way through. Make sure there's no obstruction in that to make sure everything is watered properly. And on the inside, ours definitely looks rough. It's been worked on a few times, and you can see that is some of the bellows adhesive is just kind of still caked on there. Along with probably being cooked from being so hot a couple times. But ours still works. It's going to be okay, but probably the next time I'm going to do it, I'll probably just replace it anyways, just to be on the safe side, just so I know everything's new. But other than that, this will just end up dropping right in there. It'll fit nice in there, just kind of like a snug fit. Some like to use a little bit of silicone there and on the bottom side, just to make sure there's no rattling, and just make sure it stays in place too. Maybe a little bit of light coating on the outside there. Some like to do that. It's not required, but I will do it just because I like to have everything stay in place and make sure nothing rattles. But now is not the time to do that. I'm going to do that when I put it all back together and make sure everything seats up properly. This cover, simply just take a screwdriver and pry it off. All the joyful goodness there, because this thing has been there for a while. It's got a gasket on there, but it's definitely been leaking for a while all the way around. So we're going to clean up all the corrosion that's there and put a new gasket on and get this replaced. You can definitely see the wear. See all the shininess? It should be all one different flatness, so time to replace it. Now when you clean this up here, make sure to always make sure that passage is clear, so that way this little bit of seal can get actually some lubrication to it, or if there's ever pressure on that, it's not pushing through that, it can actually escape. So definitely make sure that is open for you. And with the plate, you see right here, we've got a gasket. This plate does have kind of two sides to it, where you have a rounded edge and then the flat edge, because when stamped steel out, you can see there's different rings to it. I always put the stamp side down, so this is obviously when it's punched, it punched top down, so this is where everything gets rolled inwards. You can kind of see by rolled edges versus this side's sharp edges. I always put the sharp edges to the gasket, just to make sure that when it's running around with a pump, there's no burrs on there to grab on the blades. So that's the way I always put it together. And we're going to use a little bit of RTV to keep this gasket in place, keep everything there, and keep all the seals in place as we reassemble this. That's all it takes for RTV. Just a nice light painting on there. Got a couple dollops on the bottom just to take up space. And then nice and light on that side, so that way it's not too much and squirting out the edges. Pushing this in should just drop right in, nice and flush right there. So that is how far in it should be, so it's all flush. If it's sticking out a little bit, make sure it seats all the way, because there is a recess down there at the very bottom of the cup. Otherwise, if it's sitting in too far, that's also a bad thing too, and won't seat the cup along the bare plate itself. Once you're ready to do your sandwich, O-ring goes on there. A little bit of RTV helps hold it in place, because this thing likes to walk around. Then you got your plate with a gasket on the outside. I use a little bit of RTV to keep it in place. Kind of squish it down. Now's the best time to check to make sure it's all seated properly, and then we'll install it on the outdrive again. Now with this being an O-ring, you want to make sure you tighten this down evenly as you go. So you're not just going down on one corner only. I always try to go around the circle, so everything's nice and snug. This is a plastic housing. I know it has a brass bushing in between, but it has an O-ring, so you don't need to be too tight on it. Just like that. So, close counts, nice and even tight. Then all we got left is this little hose right here. Put it back on there. It's tight. We're probably going to put a zip tie on there just to make sure it's pinched on there nice and tight. Otherwise, as long as your hose stays on there good and tight, that's good to go. That's all there is to it. Cute little zip tie, just like that. Just enough to keep some pressure on it. All that's left to do is put the cover back on it and you're good to go. So this is the prime example of why you need to do this every couple of years, or if it's a new boat to you, do it anyways, just in case that somebody said, oh yeah, it's good to go. They may have been running it dry, so you want to make sure this is taken care of to keep your boat from overheating and cause damage to your outdrive, especially because even if it wasn't overheating, if it wasn't pumping water to that outdrive, you can start ruining and overheating that outdrive gear set. So you do not want to do that. You want to make sure you take care of your investment, because this is super cheap and easy to do. And Mercury, you got to take apart the whole lower unit, but OMC, it's nice and easy to access. So these are super easy to do. It's always easy to take care of it, and I highly recommend doing it whenever you get the chance. Other than that, hopefully you can like the video, comment, tell us what you think, tell us what you want to hear about, and subscribe. We got a lot of great content coming, a lot of great content on the channel, so be sure to check it out. And remember to have a great adventure.